Except he life and family just need yeah. You're so right. But a lot of the people for those very I did somebody needs okay. Wow. Okay. Do you not need to know? Well, so Friends of restorative justice is primarily 15, 10 or 15 elderly white people. Then you have those who started with families who had adopted kids who had been up in the prison system. Very humble, sweet group. You know, right. Yeah, sometimes it's never been part of things that sort of advertise. They never get a I mean, there are a lot of people. Right now, I'm excited because we're going to get because the fellow the most beautiful thoughts. I like him up on the job. It's very good. We try to find it. So, yeah. Somebody okay. Really need ask me for your picture. But I've also like yeah, so I get it. I am looking for somewhere I've not seen needed actually for like you yeah kind of shows the sort of thing. So, and I'm doing it partially. So I'm doing the these things. That's a whole thing. I hope you start up. And I'm that you know. Invited. So I'm say, all right. Beginning of your I didn't play because I'm like, I can't make sure. I didn't know there was no food left. I'm sorry. I knew Mike really well in graduate school. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. So that was around. Yeah, can't remember whether the or a little bit. Okay. The outside. Yeah, 80. That's 80 or 80. That's when I started later. Yeah, I'm 71 now. No, 7. Yeah, I'll do it. I didn't even know the kids are now moving around the door for the big. But here. You have to buy it. What it is. Yeah, and now Yeah, I'm not really. I was the do you prefer Chelsea or email? Everybody want to get customer. It was better. Okay. Yeah. Because I thought I had cards with me, but I got this. And if I get over and you follow. Nope. I was not so excited here. I guess. Oh, it is? Me too. Now put on the air, sorry. They prevented them just over time. Our taxes. I'm not someone. I don't know, but I'm personally. They buy them, so but trust them. If not, pardon. No. But
Yeah, let's see, there's some kind of maybe not me. Oh, Jackson. Yeah, Jackson. I mean, he done now. Yeah. Really big thing.
it comes and my two right.
Yeah.
You talk to the get to the top of it, it's gonna make everything cheaper. So it's not. When you're gonna get pricing, things that.
We'd like to buy again.
Ready? It's the.
So the other was not busy with this challenge.
I am, and, but nothing like what I was.
There's that order.
It's been like this.
Are you?
But I mean, have we met before?
Yes, we did the Pittsfield Township Police
Oh,
Department.
right. Okay, then I saw you.
With ICBJ, yeah, I saw you at the picnic. I just wanted to ask, oh, there it is, okay. So we're gonna, this is the next month,
T70.
next month's one.
That's a big fundraiser.
Oh, oh, okay, okay, got it, thank you.
So, yeah, I think I might see that by now. So, very happy to get. That not do. That's what I was.
Reason I don't accept no,
But I'm writing a big book.
just nice. One of the guys sat down and I had no idea how I in the paradigm would happen. It was great. Great chill.
So the Bible.
So I like kids are down there. Yeah, so yeah, it was, so I'm in the American Legion, so we do an early bird dinner, so right, definitely like higher than you have a great. Big friend here. Guys have renewed their membership. Like an encouragement.
So anyway, I hope that's helping.
Yeah, he's a post commander at a. Yeah, great guy.
Yeah, the spirits, we took better, it was that.
We can't, so I run I'm commander of the ground, in our. Yeah, I can talk me. Yeah, you're fully expecting this to be paid. But they always like last fish, like, oh, I want to come in. What? Like, the best time I have you.
Yeah.
And after you said,
All those kids and grandkids.
I'm out there.
Like.
And Josh, it's really happy.
It's nice under COVID. Both my sister, yeah, sending up on. Whatever that was, a year.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, now there's. Both part of it. Sorry.
I needed to get your plate.
It's just so much. It's Joe Sutter. It's been that over the years. On because of Israel Palestine. Today, that's actually, were you interested in that at one point?
Yeah. It's.
Another issue that, yeah, I do a lot of.
Yeah, her name is like Rochetta, that's you.
Yeah, yeah. I still hear
Like.
was experimenting. Whether to make it too crunchy or too soft.
Yeah. We're doing something in science and that you very certainly can consider 1 year.
Right.
And
Yesterday's marathon. No, Saturday's marathon. That's 9.
Yeah.
probably pays it.
Oh.
Maybe.
Oh, my
Yeah. Yeah.
It's sprinkled with fine down. Listen down decisions here. You know, kind of data.
It's a lot of people.
Right. You're doing It's not stating right now. You're in county. Yeah. My children. Like. Also not out there. This each house. Daughter. Son. Yeah, yeah. I got a 6th grade with a 4 parent and the. Still baby, you know, yeah, I am. Yeah. Yeah, my daughter moved here. Mark basically, the date of it. And getting married when she got around. Right, the old stuff. Until he moved down here. Well, and they bought houses soon. So like, you get one move out of it. So make it good. When they both got good jobs, I thought this. They'll be here. Yeah, yeah, you know, the plan. Sums it up, sorry. And that's yeah. And walk out basically, but then it's all.
Okay.
Why doesn't it pick up the music? Okay, testing 1, 2.
Yeah. When I was, Oasis and. I'm not sure which.
All right, here we are. Hi, everybody. We're so. Sound isn't. Jim, help me out.
Just a sec.
There it is. Okay, good. It was Reuben. Ru- Thank you. Okay, welcome, everybody. It's amazing that you're here on a night like this. Thank you for coming. It really means a lot. It means partly how much we all care about this topic of Christian nationalism and the attack on American democracy. I'm Teresa Reed. I'm the chair of the Washtenaw County Democratic Party. We are very proud to be organizing these potlucks with our amazing set of partners: Ann Arbor Indivisible, Clean Water Action, Huron Valley Area Labor Federation, Dexter Indivisible, IBEW 252, MDP Veterans Caucus, the Michigan League of Conservation Voters, Michigan Resistance, Third Act Michigan, and Western Washtenaw Dems. I know that there are, where's Sharon? Oh, there again. I know that there are more out there who want to join, and we are happy to have you join. So right on the website, everybody, all of the resources that you see here, all of the resources we've used at all of these potlucks so far are on our website, washtenaw.dems.org. It's right on the top navy. There's a drop down for the Washtenaw Alliance 2026 potlucks. That's not good. Do I need to turn this down?
I just did.
Okay, thank you. All right. I want to just call out all of these volunteers. We have so many volunteers, but the reason we have a beautiful web page for this is Sally. Sally, thank you. We have so much going on, and right now I want to go to let me just, I think briefly, address a series of the potlucks. We know we're fighting fascism on American soil, for the first time. Well, not the first time, right? We know we fought fascism on American soil before, but there wasn't an entire political party who was driving the fascist takeover. So we know that also that a component of all successful anti-authoritarian movements is, as it says on the screen, a sustained mobilization of a broad coalition of people. All of us, most of us are involved in the party, we're involved in Indivisibles, we're involved in other action groups, and many of us have gone to the fantastic No Kings rallies and hands off rallies and so forth. And those are really great and important, but we felt and feel that it's important for us to get to know each other on a personal basis as we go through this truly frightening time in American political life. We need to know who each other is and how we trust each other. So that's really important. So that's what we're doing here, and we're really glad you're here. We always do a CTA, if you don't know already. A CTA is a call to action. I only learned a month or so ago, too, maybe a couple months ago, a CTA. So we got these immediate CTAs. As we know, food gatherers, this criminal regime is actually holding hungry people hostage, is what they're doing. They're holding them hostage. And they think that they will break us by starving American citizens, right? Well, we're going to stand up. Obviously, we are standing up to that. There are, I don't know where all the QR codes are. I guess there are some on the table. Go to Food Gatherers, donate what you can. I know there's so much to donate to support anymore. Thank you, John. John's holding up what the flyer looks like. It's on your table. We're collecting canned goods and other non-perishables out there, and also a link to Food Gatherers is of course on our website, with a link to the most needed items and so forth. And thank you to Ginger Kenny, who is a chair or one of the leaders of Michigan Resistance, which is a really, really cool partner in all of this that we're doing. Michigan Resistance, do you want to talk about it for a sec? Real quick. They're one of my favorite. I mean, I just think that their strategy is so effective. But
Every week we have a specific issue. We talk with one of our Michigan reps and one of our Michigan senators every Friday and determine what the issue is this week that we're going to be focusing on. And then we call Democrats in districts that are presently held by purple district Republicans and ask those Democrats to call their rep or senator and tell them what they want to do. And we tell them what it is they should want them to do. And what that is this week, because it's follow-up on what she just said about food gatherers. There is a bill that the Democrats have put forth, and she's got the code, the number up there if anybody wants to actually know the number. But I would like you to actually do this if you have time, preferably tomorrow, to make a call to Speaker of the House, Matt Hall, this strange gentleman, this gentleman who is the Republican Speaker of the House, who does not work well with others, I guess would be how you'd say it. And we need to call him and tell him that he needs to put on the floor the two bills that are there and what those bills are. One is to give food banks 12.5 million, and one for food pantries, 12.5 million, to help them restock, because with SNAP having been taken away, everybody is going there. The courts have changed their mind at least 5 times in the last 2 days as to what they're doing as to whether or not SNAP is going to be funded, but it hasn't been funded for the last week. And so those people are going to the food banks. Also, we have over 20,000 civilian federal employees in Michigan, most of whom are not getting paychecks. So they're going to the food banks. So if you would please call, the phone number is there. That is Matt Hall's phone number, his office phone number, and ask him to put those bills on the floor for a vote. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thanks, Ginger. The great strategy. Yeah, thank you very much. They do a fantastic job. And you know, for those of us who live in all blue Washtenaw County, it can be frustrating sometimes. It's like, well, what do we do? Well, you join Michigan Resistance and you know who to call and who are represented by by Republicans, and then, you know, and what to say. So it's really, really smart, really smart. So the call to Matt Hall is one. You also need to call our two senators. Obviously Senator Slotkin and Senator Peters. Bookmark, and I'm jumping down to the bottom bullet here, bookmark mivoter.org. It's the easiest way to find out how to contact the people who represent you at all levels, all levels. So you're like, oh, she says to call them. How do I call them? Put your street address into mivoter.org and there's all your people. How to email them, call them, whatever. It's super, super important to call them, thank them for holding the line here. Really, really important. And tell them you want them to keep that up. You know, Democrats don't like to starve people. And so Democrats are feeling a lot of pressure to cave on what? Because, you know, we know that this administration will not keep their word on anything. And so, like, okay, to stop starving people will deprive them of medical care. That makes sense. So call our senators too and say thank you and keep it up. Keep it up. So bookmark mivoter.org. And then anytime you think I should call somebody, I should call one of my reps, you'll know how to find them. In case you guys want to, we thought, you know, sometimes people want to stay in touch with each other. They come, they have a good conversation at the table. They want to stay in touch with each other, but you know, they didn't exchange information. So we thought, well, we can start, one way we can do that is to start a Google group for people who want to do that, who want to stay in touch. And then you can start conversations, parallel conversations instead of top-down conversations with each other. We were going to try to do that at Sign In, and it's going to be too complicated. So what we'll do, and Sharon is here somewhere, maybe she's watching the door still. There's Sharon, amazing Sharon Simonton, the co-chair of membership, who makes everything happen. But what we'll do is in our follow-up email to you guys, we'll include a link to, you know, to say, yes, I want to be on a Google group to stay in touch with people. All right. And then also, Ian, are you here? I don't see you right now. Where are you? There, Ian's out there. Would somebody grab him? Ian, come in. Thanks, Jen. We wanted you to join the Huron Valley area, or Huron Valley Rapid, it's Huron Valley Area Labor Federation, HVALF, Rapid Response Network. While Ian's making his way in, I'm going to call on Jen Schlicht right here of Clean Water Action.
Hi, folks. I expect I'll be told to slow down. I'm going to try to avoid that, but that tends to be my track record. Yeah, so just want to talk to everyone quickly about why Michiganders are money out of politics. Why it's so important that everyone in this room helps us get this on the ballot for 2026. So, not familiar, the impact monopoly utility and large corporate contractor money has in our Lansing politics is huge. And I don't think people really get how much and how pervasive it is. And because of dark money side of it, we don't even entirely know all of it. But just a few examples, why we didn't get polluter pay pass, which is incredibly popular. If you're Republican or Democrat, make a mess, you clean it up. Good for the taxpayer, good for our environment. Why did data centers get tax breaks? Another thing that folks in rural areas and folks in our backyard are fighting them right now. It's because of utility lobbying in Lansing, full stop. We had tax breaks stopped. DT stepped in because it's a lot of money making for them on this. Polluter pay, they've got a lot of brown sites and they don't want to pay to clean it up. So good legislation we need that would make our state better is getting stopped because they're throwing money around. And it's a lot of money. So DT and consumers are the top first and third political donors that we know of in Michigan right now. And they gave 1.7 million to current Michigan elected officials over their careers, with 82% of the current legislature. Shout out a lot of our local reps who don't take it, so I appreciate them. Another one a lot of folks don't know is DT also funded Unlock Michigan via dark money back channels, so moving from one 501c4 to another. And it was a Republican-led effort to directly undermine Governor Whitmer's COVID precautions and restrictions. They denied this repeatedly to reporters until it came out in court and they had to, it was basically, you can't deny it anymore. It's proven that DT executives are behind this nonprofit, directly funded making our state less safe for all of us. And we need to stop that. So yeah, it was their nonprofit's called Michigan Energy First. They give $100,000 to Michigan citizens for fiscal responsibility, which is a hell of a euphemism. And they were the largest donor to the Unlock Michigan effort. So we deserve to have lawmakers and a democracy that works for us, not the big money that's getting thrown around in Lansing, and not the conflict of interest money. The folks who are supposed to be regulating them, it's another reason why we have some of the highest rates and worst service in the entire country, are the ones who are getting all these donations and are in their pocket. So yeah, so I'm asking everyone here to help get signatures. Every single person, y'all can do this. It's super easy. Lots of people don't like DTE. Trust me, you make friends. So yeah, it's been really easy to get signatures. No one's told me no, and had a lot of bonding on that. But we need more folks getting signatures to get this on the ballot and win. We are very, very grassroots. We're not, like the very bad voter ID bills. Don't vote for those. We don't have money to give someone $10 for a signature. So every signature matters. And if every person in this room gets 5 or 10 or even a couple, got Thanksgiving coming up, bring the sheets along with you, talk about all the stuff and why it's important. That's a big jump. And you want to get more? That's even better. So well, that's been a pitch. I went longer than I'm supposed to probably. So you can find myself or you can find Madison. She's up front and wearing this awesome t-shirt. So we got this, and we got our democracy is not for sale. So you can rock that out and be very visible in the snow as well. Yeah, and thank you everyone else who's all already volunteering, especially the folks who just signed up today. Y'all rock. And yep, appreciate your help. So
Thanks, Jen. Thank you. Mop Up Michigan. Great. It's a great one. Come on. So the Huron Valley Area Labor Federation is putting together a rapid response network, and Ian, the president, is here to tell us more.
Thank you, Teresa. Yes, so some of you have already heard of this, but if anyone hasn't, on each table, there's one, I think, poster or handout that has a QR code for the Rapid Response Network. We also have a table out there if your table has lost it. Basically, what we're doing is bringing together union people and people who aren't in unions but share pro-worker values to be ready. Like, we'll notify people who are on that list, and there's about 350 on it right now, of upcoming demonstrations and other sorts of things that are fighting to protect worker rights, fighting to protect democracy, fighting to protect various other things that are part of our larger vision of a good and just society. We'll also organize workshops to teach folks how to organize so that they can expand the number of people who are involved in the network at the level of their social networks, their friends, their communities, their workplace colleagues, and so on. And we'll have workshops that are also about strategy, like how do we defeat fascism? How have other countries done it? What role have labor movements played in other countries? What role have other kinds of civic organizations played? Finally, we'll work with others who are already know how to do this to bring folks who know how to organize nonviolent civil disobedience to those of us who haven't really participated in those kind of trainings in the past, which is a lot of the labor movement, right? We go on strikes. They're a kind of peaceful, nonviolent civil disobedience sometimes. Certainly when I went on strike, I had to violate state law, which prohibits all K-12 teachers and all university teachers in the public sector from ever striking. So to go on strike, we were violating state law, but we didn't have to go before a judge in that particular case. Anyway, please join the Rapid Response Network if you haven't already, and you'll get this information. You'll be able to, we'll follow up if you sign up tonight by asking you a few questions about how you'd like to be involved, and then we'll try to reach out to you and make sure that we engage you in the ways that you've indicated. So thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Ian. I don't think I missed any CTAs. Yes, I did. Okay. This MDOT sneaks in. Catherine, do you want to come up and speak about this for a second? Catherine Daliga, are you here? I saw you. There she is. Here she comes. Okay, good. Catherine's on the core team planning these potlucks along with, I just want to say, where's Barb Wachula? somebody said who's in charge, and I'm like, well, nominally I am, but really Barb.
The Michigan Department of Transportation has advanced a whole set of proposals that would tighten access to public areas, including rest stops. The original complaint, which is still live and legitimate, is that implementing these reforms will make it more difficult for people who are unhoused to be safer to stay in these places. So that's objection one to them. Objection two is that there are a number of proposals buried in this package that would wind up criminalizing public protest. So, Kent County Indivisible has some information about this. The flyer is here with a QR code through which you can look up that information. And public comment is open until 11:20, so a week, a little more than a week.
Thanks. Where else can they find this QR code?
Well, we can put it up and follow up with people.
Yeah, okay, you know what, we'll follow up with you on this, but also Sally, maybe we can get this on the landing page, okay? So people know about this. You should, you know, you guys should always do check out our website because there's a lot of information on the website, including, as I said, all of the information that we've put out around these potlucks, and including a whole set of resources about Christian nationalism that we've put on the website, collected and put on the website today, both from Joe Summers, Reverend Summers, and also Catherine is an incredibly knowledgeable person on Christian nationalism. Okay, a couple other things. I just want to let you know that, like, so last potluck was about immigration and mutual aid, and I want to follow up on those. We're not here just for a moment. We're here for all time. Janet, where are you? You want to come up and, yeah. Janet has been working in the immigration space for many years, ever since I've known her, which is a long time when I first started in the party. And she really has a tremendous amount of expertise. I want to say also that Barbara Tula, the aforementioned Barb, had started for last month's potluck, had started a list, you know, that aspires to be a directory of mutual aid efforts in Washtenaw County. This is going to become more and more important, just as like being united in rapid response networks, being reunited here, maybe through our Signal groups and our Google groups and so forth. But we really have no idea what's coming, and I think we've barely seen the start of it. But I want to say, so the mutual aid directory, we're working on it. We hope to make that like something like mivoter.org for mutual aid, so that you can really find quickly what you need, and WCDP volunteers can help you find it. And then Janet has an update on immigration. I just circulated this morning to this group and another one, the WCDP action group, actually on Signal, an Atlantic article about the hidden impact of this immigration regime. And it's hard to accept. They can't accept it. It's hard to read about. Well, the only positive we can say is that we have a lot of very dedicated people who are passing large parts of their time taking people where they need to go, patrolling, fending ice off when they can. Most of the time you really can't, especially because their modus is to do 5-minute stops. So they are looking for certain people, but they will take anybody that they can profile. If you see a few Latinos in a truck going to a work site, they'll just pull them over. And 5 minutes isn't really time to check that there isn't a good reason, and they're off. If you're lucky, you will be deported promptly, as happened to a friend of mine 2 weeks ago. If you're not lucky, if you have a pending court date, and it might be sometime next year, then they will be keeping you in detention until that court date.
So it's really, really grim. And the price, I think Teresa was referring to the price that the families pay. They have no breadwinner. They are, vulnerable. The kids, there's a lot of support here through the school system. I have to say this one family, the people from the school were there right away with social work and finding out what kind of resources they could get them. But there's just a huge need for support and the trauma because, the double whammy is that when you lose your father, then your mom has to find some way to go to work. And then all of a sudden you've got no parents because the hours are long. So those are just many, I'll just very briefly say how people can help if that's where you want to be helping at this moment. There's a need for help in all sectors of society, but if that's where you would like to be able to help, the organization Wicker is the Washtenaw Interfaith Coalition for Immigrant Rights. They have a volunteer list of people who can take people to court appointments, to hospitals, to all kinds of things. There's the group Mira, which is much more involved in responding to ICE. They're the ones running the signal groups where people say where they're spotting ICE and how to avoid them, and sending people out to try to intercept, although they say a 5-minute stop, it's really hard to intercept. But anyway, they're doing the more direct response, but that group has also set up a mutual aid thread that we're still working on exactly the coordination of how a family that needs, for example, rides to the store would be able to communicate that through the signal to the people who said, there's a lot of people who said they'd be willing to do that, but we still haven't got the way to connect the families yet, but it's coming. So that kind of stuff will also be on the website under the potluck resources tab for the October meeting. Yeah. And Wicker in particular could really use donations as well, which that's their website is wicir.org, because they're the ones who are directly paying a month's rent when this happened. They're doing something that they call Return with Dignity, where they will pay plane tickets for somebody who decided that they don't want to wait to be snatched and they're going to go home. So kind of things. Yeah.
At the Ann Arbor Downs yesterday, Sheriff Diver said that she and others are going to have a fundraiser for the
That's great.
I'll make sure you know.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, these links are on the website for the October meeting. I want you to know also that this December meeting, sorry. I just wanted to add, I mean, we all know it's happening, but it's, we're sort of on the other side of, most of us on the other side of the tracks. And just to get an idea, it's 3 or 4 or 5 people a day. It's not just a few here and there. Yeah. One of the things in the Atlantic article that is gutting, it's all gutting, but that, there was a big outcry about a 6-year-old who was detained with arms behind his little back, or her, I can't even remember. They're like 60, 45, 50, 60 children have been deported alone. 60, I mean, you hear about one, and it's just unholy. So as we know, speaking of the topic for tonight, Christian nationalism being unholy, let me say a couple other things. December's program, we're going to focus on mutual aid. Barb is organizing it. And Barb, are there papers on the table for people to say they want to help?
People can bring things and take things home with them, and anything we have extra,
Yeah, so it's like a giant gift swap next. We're putting it into action. All right, and we'll be gift wrapping. Everybody wants to gift wrap. Okay, so there'll be more on that on the website, and also coming to you as follow-up. And also I want you to know that January we're focusing. So I just want to back up and say, everybody knows, we're working from the Indivisibles pillars, right? The whole framework. It's on your, they're laminated copies of the original slides on your desk, thanks to Barb, or on your tables, about the pillars that support authoritarian regimes. And what we're doing every month is looking at different pillars that are supporting the regime. Religion is a big one. The military is another big one, which is possibly the scariest one of all, as they're gutting the leadership ranks in our military. In January, we're focusing on how military veterans can undermine the military support for the regime. The two speakers we have are at this time, are the co-chairs of the Michigan Democratic Party's Veterans Caucus, are residents of Washtenaw County and active in the party. And they'll be working with us to look at that extremely robust pillar. And scary one. One last thing I want to talk about, and thanks to Barbara Nathan for this, Laura Nathan, Courage Collectives. I missed this particular Indivisible video or meeting. It's incredibly interesting. And these, I guess I don't have it up there, do I? And let me see if I've got, I don't remember if I slid. I don't know. Oh yeah, good, yay me. The Courage Collectors are really cool. It's an interesting next step. And Barb, sorry, I don't want to call you Barb. Laura, do you want to come up and say anything about them? Okay. They're small groups of people who want to work within a pillar, who have particular, maybe it's pastors, maybe it's, or other religious leaders, or maybe it's military veterans, or maybe it's teachers who are professors and so forth, but any people that and it's not just local, right? Maybe you have people in California and New Mexico and anywhere else in the country, and you want to work together to pull down a pillar that's supporting authoritarianism or weaken the pillar. That's a Courage Collective, and typically, as they always do, Indivisible has just fantastic resources to support this kind of small group work. I just want to say right now, I'm so thankful for Indivisible. I'm so thankful for those leaders. They're absolutely incredible. But I don't know if these are on our website yet, but they will be. But I strongly recommend checking those out. If you have friends or family, across the country who really want to work on this stuff too, let's do it and reach out to them. Anything, did I catch it, Laura? Is that all? Okay, thanks. All right, it's now time for our topic of the evening, Christian nationalism. We know, and the threat to democracy, and I'm not really going to say much about it because it's already, it's been on the website, and I think you're all here because you are aware of what incredible danger we're in. I say, a few of us have been, you talk, and I was saying that the first time I ever gave money to Pete Buttigieg was after the first, remember that huge, I don't know, we had like 18 people in the primary for presidential primary, something like that. Back in 16, I think it was, everything's a blur now, but, and he stood on that stage with all these other people, and he said, all of these Republicans wrap themselves in the Bible, they hold up the Bible, and they call themselves Christians. He said, I have not ever heard one Christian value coming out of any of them. And it's like, where do I send money? Because that's my guy. So anyway, with that, I'm just going to introduce Reverend Joe Summers. Many of you know him, and we're very grateful that Joe has joined us. Do you have slides?
No.
Good. Okay, sorry, get out of your way.
Good evening. Whoops, I just hit your computer accidentally. Oh, well. Hey. Oh, things are good. Okay. So first,
great to get together, talk about this topic. Reminded me, I think it was Sinclair Lewis. We had a book novel, It Can't Happen Here, about fascism coming to the United States. And he suggested that if fascism was to come to the United States, it would come in and through Christianity. And we know that the heart of the authoritarian movement, the beating pulse right now, is the Christian nationalist movement. I'm gonna not, there's so many things that could be talked about. I'm gonna just try to give, I feel like there's such a lack of basic understanding of religious nationalism and Christian nationalism. That's where I'm gonna start from, and then hopefully get to some more specifics. So right now, we live in a world where every world major religion is divided between two poles. On one pole, we have those who hold up values such as justice, equality, compassion, human rights, interfaith cooperation, and there's a variety of cooperations between those poles of each of these religions, each of the world's major religions. On the opposite pole, on the extreme end of it, we find the religious nationalists, who, while they proclaim to be rooted in a particular religious tradition, actually all have more in common with each other than they do with the opposite poles of their religion. Now, there's a diversity of spectrum and beliefs, but it's striking how much they cooperate with each other, and I'll come back to that. All of them tend to have a vision that once their country had a golden age in which their religion was dominant, and which other people of other faiths could be accepted, but they were to be viewed as resident aliens. That is, they had to cooperate with the dominant structure, kind of second-class citizenship, and that provided for social peace and prosperity. The religious nationalists tend to embrace a purity code vision of religion, where religions are significantly about encouraging a divine sanctification of purity codes. Now, purity codes are built into our psyche as human beings. We know a purity code is operating when in our guts we feel an instinctual sense of revulsion, which often makes us think they're natural, but actually it's internalized ideas of what's the good order, what's out of order. So for example, if earth is in your garden, we're good. If earth is on our toothbrush, we call it dirt, and we're revolted by it. And but societies and cultures can educate people. I mean, you know, one of the main things that upheld the racial caste system was the way people internalized purity codes. That meant that anybody who challenged those systems were seen as a threat. Or, you know, and the most striking example of this is that up until the 1960s, the majority of Americans felt revolted at the idea of interracial couples. Now you talk to young people in this country and it's like they don't even know what the word miscegenation means. So purity codes seem like they're permanent, they seem like they're fixed, but they're always evolving and changing. And I recognize this when I see a MAGA hat on somebody. I've got that sense of revulsion. You know, I don't want to claim a divine mandate for that revulsion, but I've got it. Now, so at their worst, purity codes justify segregation, apartheid, where some people can even come to be viewed as untouchable. It can become the basis of ethnic cleansing and even genocide. And every genocide we've seen is committed by folks who claim there's an existential reason to believe that having their victims in their midst is a deadly threat to their well-being. So there's this whole metaphor of the body, things getting into your body that are going to destroy you or kill you. Religious nationalists also tend to have a hierarchical view of
Uh-oh. iPhone has taken over the Zooms. Oh. No. They want to fix it.
I guess they turned.
ultimate authority in our country. And because of that biblical illiteracy, people are easily manipulated on the basis of what others claim the Bible says. Now, the problem of the Bible itself. This problem's enhanced because in the Bible we find two opposite traditions regarding what I would call the paradigm of domination as it was embodied in the temple warfare state. Temple warfare state is just basically the model of kingship, aristocracy, citizens, non-citizens, upheld by a military hierarchy, economic hierarchy focused on private wealth, and a religious hierarchy. And I'm actually going to argue, to get the end of this story in the beginning, that vision of religion in these hierarchies, the role of religion in those societies, was to create these purity codes and maintain them as a way to justify who was on top and who was on bottom, who was in and who was out. Now, in the Bible, we find one set of traditions, like the prophets and the Jesus movement, what I'd call the early Yahwist movement, that reject the model of society and religion from top to bottom in the name of values like the common good, commonwealth, justice, equality, freedom, love. On the other side are traditions and texts that uphold that model as the essence of the faith. So it's not as easy as just saying some people are manipulating the Bible. If you read your Bible, approaching it, I love Jesse Jackson saying, a text without a context is a pretext, which means we get out of it what we bring to it. And so many people, when they open the Bible, if they're oriented one way or another, you're going to find the text that will justify either the good or the horror. And so this conflicting traditions in the Bible itself has a lot to do with why we remain a nation divided. You know, Abraham Lincoln saying, a house divided against itself cannot stand. It's why we're needing to move towards a new reconstruction, one that will complete the vision of democracy and equality. Now, last part of this. So what are the implications of Christian nationalism and these conflicting traditions we find in the Bible for those of us seeking to create a society and a world that upholds the common good and promotes greater equality, justice, peace, and good relationships between people and the earth? Well, first, I would say that while needing to understand Christian nationalism, our most immediate task may not be to try to wrestle with Christian nationalists, but rather to make connections with progressive religious folks. Bishop Gene Robinson was invited to come talk to the staff at the Human Rights Campaign. So they had a staff of 60 or 80 gather with him. And he says, his first question is, how many are you are part of a faith community? And about 80% of the staff raised their hands. And then he said, how many of you knew that about each other? Almost all the hands go down. And then he says, why is it you didn't know that about one another? So what it is a lot of progressive religious folks are a little embarrassed or shy about not, wanting to impose their religion on folks, but to the extent that we're basically hiding in the closet. Polls show that progressive Christians are about as many in number as fundamentalist Christians in this country. And you can't imagine that from the political culture at large. The influence seems so disparate. So one of the first most important things we need to do is to encourage people of faith to really bear witness to this connection between their faith, their communities, and why they've come to the conclusions they have. Not to impose the faith, but just to level the playing field, because when our politics is played out as religious against non-religious, the religious are often going to win. When it's about religious and progressive folks and secular folks against authoritarian religious folks, that side wins. And in US history, we'll see how this has gone back and forth. Two, part of the growth of the Christian nationalist movement is the way they're so often based on cultures of isolation. And just an example of this, there's lots of reason to homeschool your children, but the homeschool movement has become a movement about which significantly Christian nationalists have been buying into as a way to separate themselves from people in the culture at large. And so in Ann Arbor, I had Episcopal priest children were in a homeschooled, but as the first Obama election was building up, the email among the parents was all about how Obama was going to ban the reading of the Bible. This is here in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So this is not just a problem of folks out there being isolated, but right here in our midst. How do we make the connections with people that help challenge that kind of isolation? And by the way, in Nicaragua, during the revolution, they talked about los isolados, the isolated ones. Frequently, they were homes with domestic violence happening, but they had, again, language and strategy for how do you reach out to people who are trying to stay separate from you. Getting towards the end here. And this problem of isolation is also reinforced by this rural-urban divide we now find in our country, which has grown up over the last 50 years. And it's not as simple as saying people in rural areas are racist or sexist, because actually the polling shows they are not far behind on most social issues. Paradoxically, their political leadership, the parties they're supporting, don't support the policies they support. But there's got to be a way for us to begin to bridge that divide. And lastly, just pointing out this problem of isolation or being aware of how Christian nationalism is being built in this country. Florida would be the great example where the Republican Party is gaining a significant base in Latino and Black communities through the funding of private education. So church pastors can declare their churches a school. They then get paid for being the principal of the school. The students in the school are the students in their congregations, and you have a patronage system that's, just growing. And we've got to figure out how to challenge this kind of thing. So, moving towards concluding, I just say it's vital for us to recognize and honor our differences while also not letting them keep us from discovering where we have common ground or from wrestling over our differences. Again, there's never been a successful social change movement in this country that's not found a way to bring together both secular and religious folks. If we're going to help people move from here to there, you don't meet them there. You got to meet them here where they are. We need to learn what appeals to different groups. We need to recognize that no culture, no community, not even the Christian nationalist community is uniform. There are always contradictions, and we need to learn why this or that group may at least initially either be drawn to support us or oppose us, and why. If the most successful weapon of social control is the domination system's most successful weapon of social control is pitting people against themselves and each other, then we need to strive for the kind of relationships and trust that will allow us to withstand these attempts to divide us. So just a last thing in here. The domination system is based on a pyramid, a hierarchy, which creates endless demarcation lines, where if you're on one side of the line, you're privileged. If you're on another side of the line, you're discriminated against. Those fractures create feelings of resentfulness, paranoia, distrust. The union movement could only be, which grew up in the midst of all those divisions, could only do so by beginning to recognize those differences, not say everybody's in the same boat, but still we've got to find ways to trust each other and work together on the basis of our common values. So we need to learn how to be curious rather than judgmental and invite people into conversations that help us know where they are. So this is time for me to stop. And we can only build those kind of trusting relationships on the basis of authenticity, bringing who we are, meeting people where they are. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. So Joe posed the exact question for the night, and that is, how do progressive people, whether religiously affiliated or not, how do we work together to undermine the pillar of Christian nationalism that is absolutely supporting this authoritarian regime? So I know that there's a lot of questions out there. So here's what we're going to do for the rest of our time together. One is, I really want to have a little back and forth with Joe, because I know he said a lot of things that you're going like, what? So if that's okay with you, okay. And then we have Diane Zahn, who has an example of a progressive faith community that is working on signs of solidarity right here. And that's really interesting. And so we're going to get an example of it. And then you guys are going to work in small groups and just talk about what has your experience been. I have a Christian nationalist brother and sister-in-law, and they homeschooled their kids decades ago. And it was definitely part of the project back then. I mean, it was, and it's awful because my other sibs and I really cannot talk to them. We feel no way in. So, even the weather, it's like, whatever, but, all right, climate change is a hoax, God, bye. Anyway, so how about if we have some conversation, just, don't be shy, just throw out your comments or questions for Joe. Thank you. Great. And I'm going to trade places because I want to get this back up. And we'll spend, I don't know, 10 minutes or so having this, and then we'll hear from Diane about their example. And then you can talk in your own groups about what are you doing in your life? Are you confronting this individually, personally in your life? And what are you doing in any congregations you're part of?
Hi.
Right.
I actually belong to a very progressive Christian church here in Ann Arbor, Ann Arbor Community Church. And the pastor, who happens to be African-American, can talk circles around any other pastor who claims that Christian nationalism has any biblical basis. So if anyone needs that. Anyway, here's my point. 43% of self-identified American Christians did vote for Harris in the last election, 43%. So my question to you, can you think of a particular issue on which Democrats can maybe move forward in dialogue with Christians to separate them from the Republican Party besides abortion?
Yeah, I need to let that rest a minute, but I think people in this country are hungering to feel treated with a sense of dignity, to feel treated I think people in this country overwhelmingly, the polls say, you know, the Democrats on the polling issues, they're there. The country wants greater equality. The country wants taxation of the wealthy. So I don't think has to be any one issue. I think it's a matter of really reaching out and making these relationships and these connections so that we're not so divided. It's hard because okay. You know, and there's work to be done on both sides of the divide. You know, when you try to have an interfaith gathering and the opening prayers are all about, you know, Lord Jesus Christ, that's a problem. Don't want to take the assumption that that's anybody deliberately insulting you, but there needs to be a conversation about why that doesn't work for an interfaith community. So I think it's more a matter of our failure to really take this seriously and then embrace it. I think music is a great way to build those alliances. I may not be answering well. Okay. I would challenge your pastor on there's no biblical basis for Christian nationalism because the whole later epistles are all about slaves being obedient to masters. So.
Hey, Jim. Well, can I get your?
Is there-
Diane,
Yes, Linda.
yeah. Oh, Linda, where?
Oh, that's fine. Diane.
That's Diane.
Okay, I mean, Joe, I looked at the list of questions that came out with this meeting notice. And the first thing I would want to, you know, when we talk about Christian nationalism, I'm sorry, they are profane bigots. Let's call it what it is.
Right.
Words of two syllables or less, because I'm a Presbyterian. I'm also an independent. They let me in this room, okay? I'm not a registered Democrat, just to out myself. But the first thing I want to do is say, can you go reread the Gospels, please? The 4 books, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, less than 100 pages. And if you don't even read that, just go read, you know, Matthew 22 to 46. Teacher, what great commandment what is the greatest commandment of the law?
Okay.
You know.
So, Diane, what I want to say is we've been through this before. In the Civil War, the pro-slavery side did not cite the Gospels, did not cite the Sermon on the Mount. They cited the texts of the conquest of Canaan. They cited the later epistles. So I want to absolutely honor and affirm you're saying this is just bigotry, this is profanity, but you just have to recognize how the Bible's being used.
I will recommend a book.
Diane, I want,
Yeah.
since you're speaking. in a
So
minute.
church hate, is that
God puts books in life. An agnostic friend of mine gave me this book as a gift. It's called Separation of Church and Hate.
Okay, great,
That's on our website, actually.
good.
Good, okay.
So when Trump ran the first time, there was a evangelical ministers meeting where they were shocked that this hedonist was, you know, getting support.
Put the mic just closer to your mouth.
Any
Yeah.
better? Okay. So when Trump first ran, these evangelical ministers got together and they were shocked that their people were supporting this hedonist. And they realized that probably 2/3 of their flock were not actually born again Christians following Christ, but they were afraid they were going to go to hell. And they were following the strong leader, which is the same priestly part of the Bible rather than the Galilean side, which is where you talk directly to God. Over on the priestly side, you got to talk to a priest and the priest talks to God for you. And they were following strong men instead of Christianity. And they mistakenly took Trump as a strong man who could lead them to, you know, salvation.
Right.
Just like these grifter ministers, the same people in Florida who are taking that money.
So this is one of the books here is Jesus and John Wayne for kind of getting the masculinist revival that's happened in evangelical America over the last 20 years. I also want to say 25% of evangelical America has now embraced QAnon. So we are in a wild period of change where we don't know where things are. I mean, so it's not just the total people just shake their heads about the immorality of Trump compared to what traditional evangelicals have taught, but it's getting wilder and wilder.
I just wanted to give my own answer to the man that asked the question later about an issue that Democrats could use or progressives could use. In the late 1970s, there was a consensus around job training because the so-called information age was beginning and the industrial age was ending. And so during the Carter era, there was CETA and things that both parties actually voted for and funded. And I think that the new age of AI, et cetera, is creating a crisis, and the jobs training somehow, I think, of people, because it's not giving people money, or even what I agree with, giving people food, but some people don't think people should be given anything. But in that training to be do a job and doing work every day and then getting paid may be something that we can rally people around as AI changes the workplace, and there will be, and already are, thousands and thousands of people out of work. Even IBM, I read IBM is laying off thousands.
Time to close? Switch. Okay, I want to just say one thing. This book, Being Jewish After the Destruction of Gaza, A Reckoning by Peter Beinart, is not about Christian nationalism, but it's my faith, but he's confronting Jewish nationalism, Jewish religious nationalism. And at the page, the book is just filled with graciousness of a kind that's almost unresistible. Like the dedication of the book is, this is to my grandmother, who probably disagrees with almost everything in this book, and yet her spirit is in every page. You know, when you can have that approach to people you radically disagree with, it's a lot harder for them to resist hearing you. So this is the book, all my Jewish friends are sending their family members and relatives over Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever, because they get frightened talking, they tighten up, whereas he's able to be gracious. So it's a very 4-hour read. I think we're needing to figure out how to write the same books about Christian nationalism so that we're not othering people, we're not shaming them, but we're boldly, directly challenging them. It's called Being Jewish After the Destruction of Gaza, A Reckoning. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Great. Okay, good.
Follow the rules.
Okay, good. All right. Okay, Joseph, stick around for a bit. Diane, come and chat real quick though, because
5 minutes?
yeah, 5 minutes.
Right.
That's
We've
great.
got slides. I'm gonna talk to these people in the back of the room. Probably can't read them, so I'm gonna talk to them. First of all, I'm Diane Zahn. I'm from Northside Presbyterian Church here in Ann Arbor. And I want to get to know my audience. How many of the people in this room have been to church twice in the past month? Fair number. Okay, so we got a fair number of people who are part of the faith community here. So I'm going to talk to you about an effort at Northside Presbyterian because to put a frame of reference around my point of view, the big lie we're up against right now is that those bigots that I talked about before have the point of view that some of God's children are less worthy than others, and those who have access to force can say people have no worth at all. That's wrong. So this is what Northside's trying to do about it. So you're familiar with No Kings, you're familiar with Million Rising, you saw the pillars. So we had 2 of these community gatherings in August. And as you may know, the second of the No Kings, Million Rising training said, what can we do about it? And one of the things they presented were these signs of solidarity for small businesses to put up signs to say, immigrants are welcome here, post private spaces that you can't come crashing through with a unless you have a judicial search warrant, and then somebody still has to review the warrant. So churches, we feel, have the same issue, right? I don't want somebody in tactical gear charging through my church nursery. So at Northside Associated Ministries, we share a building with St. Anne's Episcopal Company Church here in Ann Arbor, up on the north side of town. We put up these signs, and the ones that let's see. Yeah, audience right, if you will, are the ones that are stock from No Kings. The one at the end there that says no king but Christ, no fear, immigrants are welcome here, is the homemade version that we posted that seemed to resonate with both our pastors. And we're now going around to roughly the 70 congregations that are part of the Presbytery of Detroit, so Southeast Michigan, and the Episcopal Diocese of Michigan, like similar geographic area. We've had some boards of church elders come on board with that. We're trying to figure out how to do follow-up. We've got a core team. So you mentioned the Courage Collectives.
Yeah.
So we're the kind of de facto doing that. I've got our associate pastor, Jill Mills, Jill's husband, Wade, all of whom are elders at our church, our Episcopal priest, Tom Ferguson. We're working on this together. We'd be delighted to have people help. If you think your church or your denomination might want to be on board with this effort, come talk to me. Teresa has my contact, Sharon Simonson has my contact. And the asks are, will you post these signs with us? In an ideal world, we would have all the churches in the presbytery to say, we're going to build a fire break against fear with this. So if you have a church or a denomination that you want to carry this forward with, myself and Jill Mills, we kind of signed up to be lead people for our presbytery with our church organization. So we're trying to do this. I've got a brainstorming session that we're going to do on Monday. So this is an ongoing effort. There's going to have to be some persistent widows that go out and kind of knock on doors to get people to do this. But it's important work.
Does everybody know that story?
So those of you who may have heard that particular scripture, there's a scripture that says the judge gave the widow relief not because he was just, because he was in fact corrupt, but he got tired of being awakened in the middle of the night and listening to her. So, if there's a nag, if there's an inner nag in you that wants to get on board with this, come see me. And next steps. Yeah. So we've got this, we're doing follow-up now. Anybody that wants to get on board or help with us, we've got a structure in place. We are, like I said, de facto one of these Courage Collectives doing this work on an ongoing basis. And there's also a group, some of you may have seen the press coverage about the Grand Rapids No Kings March that was actually led by a coalition of pastors. One of those is Karen Fitz-Labarge, who's a Presbyterian pastor out in the Grand Rapids area. I managed to connect with her. I'm hoping that we're going to connect with them in November after the next board meeting. They just stood up a nonprofit to try and organize across base there.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Great example of great example of progressive pushback against Christian nationalist agenda of immigration, anti-immigration. Okay, so grab a muffin. There's so much disturbed today. Yeah, Diane. Yeah.
I'm gonna be loud, people can hear me. This is not progressive. I didn't bring my Bible. Somebody look up, Matthew 25 and read it right on your smartphone. This is fundamental Christianity.
Right. No, 100%.
Pentecostal congregation. This is straight out of the gospel, folks. And if they tell you otherwise, have them go read it.
Nice. Okay, good. Okay, so at your tables, or you want to get up and move around and talk with others, get started on these questions. So what's your personal reaction to what you've heard, any or all of them? How do you think we're seeing the impact of Christian nationalism in our community? I did not know about what Joe told us about. What was it? what was it?
The homeschool.
The homeschool movement, but they,
Called the Bible would be banned.
oh yeah, Obama would ban the Bible, right? And by the way, so nice Obama's back, just saying, thank you, Barack. Right? Are you associated with the faith community? Is it wrestling with these issues? How can we respond to these movements that are having such a profound effect on our country right now? I love Joe's loving approach. And how else besides gathering like these do we break through the isolation that drives people to these communities? Based on what you've heard today, what should our next steps be? Have some time in your small groups, and then we'll have report outs. Like, what are your experiences? What do you think are the best steps? Who wants to be in touch with Diane and so forth? Okay. So guys, I'll start the music again, and please eat some of this sugar over here because there's a lot of it. Okay. Here. Somebody else. Doing it right now.
Yeah. Those are because there's a.
Okay.
Take about 3 or 4 more minutes and then share our thoughts and get out into this cold dark night. 3 or 4 minutes, wrap it up. Thanks. Yeah. And Joe. Oh, yeah, we know how to get you. Yeah. Okay, people, before everybody wants to go home, let's hear from small groups. Just like 5-10 minutes. And then I want to remind you of a few things. All right, where's Joe? Joe Summers, come on up and just help me field comments. All right, over there. I know all of you over at that table. What are you talking about? Tell me you're really doing the work. Hang on, you guys. We got some Ian's talking. Woo woo. Thank you, Jim.
How should we, first of all, we started talking about, are we supposed to be bridging over to folks who are Christian nationalists, or is our goal, in fact, to try to build stronger ties among folks who are not on that side of the divide. And I interpreted Joe to be saying the latter. Not, not the focus is not primarily on how do we reach people who are on the Christian nationalist side of this divide, but rather how do we bring together and build greater cooperation and solidarity among people who don't share those beliefs. So then we start talking about how to do that.
Yeah, that's great. I'm gonna take a stab at it, and then Joe's gonna probably contradict me, but but we have different views maybe, but so when I think about that, I think about like when we're organizing politically, when we're looking, where are the blue votes? Where are the votes? And we're not gonna go to the hard MAGAs to get the votes. They're lost to us. They're lost. But there are a whole lot of people who are persuadable. So who are persuadable and who are blue and didn't vote, right? So as we're thinking about political strategy, we don't waste our energy trying to convert people. We try to bring people into active engagement who are persuadable already. And that's how I would certainly approach this too. I mean, we're looking, how do we build stronger coalitions among that actors who share our values? And we call them Christian values or whatever. Most faith traditions share the same values, as Joe pointed out. So how do we build strength among that coalition as a counterweight to the others?
Yeah.
And to that pillar, like to undermine the strength of that pillar. Yeah, Joe? I know you're not going to contradict me, right?
No. So one of the things I think we have to recognize again in the paradigm of domination that we find in our society is the huge divide that's developed between middle class and working class and poor. And I think working class and poor people in this country have every reason to feel utterly betrayed and abandoned. And so I worked for a long time with people coming out of prison. And most of them were African-American. So I'm as far, there's an enormous gulf between us. But by showing up, by walking with them through all the harassment, et cetera, to get jobs, to get housing, to get whatever they need, trust built up slowly over time. So I think we have to recognize that we're starting from a trust deficit and show up for people, and we'll see what the results are.
You've all heard this, right? Change moves at the speed of trust. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, great. Jim, okay.
Hi, thank you. If I may, I would like to speak on that same question. And I respect the opinion from the political side, but from the faith-based side, man, I'm just gonna hope that the Holy Spirit gives me some words and that they come out in English. So we ask about, do we go after those that are too far gone? Do we go after those who might be just Christian nationalist curious, right? But we know that the Word of God tells us that all of God's children are created in His image, right? And that all of them are created, or all of them are deserving of God's love, right? Also tells us to go forth and make disciples of all nations, baptizing the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? It doesn't say go make converts of all nations. It says go make disciples. What greater discipleship can we have than showing love to our enemy, right? Political or otherwise. What greater light can we offer unto this world than to show what God's love looks like, regardless of whether they hold the position that Donald Trump was sent from the Lord above, right? Or whether they hold, they base their religious beliefs on fan fiction of the Bible. Okay, politically gathering votes, yes. Our greatest point of leverage is probably going to be those with whom we already agree, right? But as far as showing love, right, and spreading the word of God, we've got to love everyone.
Okay, and I'm going to build on that a little bit, or just want to clarify a point. And I've just read the recent biography of Martin Luther King. And so I get a little nervous when we talk about loving our enemies, that we're talking about just liking them. And, you know, King was serious about your point. He was serious about loving his enemies, but that also meant challenging them on the ways that he saw them enslaved by forces within them or other ideologies. So I just want to say, love our enemies, but, you know, don't just kind of not take seriously the harms being done. You know, find a way to treat people with dignity, respect, love, and recognize what a serious situation we're in right now. So, like, for example, Germans didn't want to take responsibility for the Holocaust up till about the 1960s. Then it began to be open to it, but they wanted to just say, well, it was all the SS and the Gestapo. The rest of us were not involved in this. And then this historian who just came and talked here yesterday or day before, you know, studied that actually, you know, the 27 million people who were killed in Russia were not killed by the SS and the SA. That was German army troops. And 30 million Germans served in the German army. So every family in Germany had a mother, father, son, sister who participated in the murder of other people. So suddenly you go, okay, we're not going to get where we need to get to unless we have this conversation about, you know, what really happened. Again, not to judge people, but just not to kind of cover it all over. Too. And the civil rights. So, and another point that I really take what you say seriously, I grew up in the South when there was still apartheid. I thought there was going to be a race war. I think most whites thought there was going to be a race war. And the civil rights movement outmaneuvered the folks who wanted a race war. I think right now we're confronting an authoritarian movement that wants a war. And we have to figure out how not to cooperate with that scenario if we're going to be successful. And so I think it's a very good point you're making about, you know, loving all as part of that strategy.
Yeah, thank you. Who else? Yeah, thanks. Right over here.
So the impact in our community that we saw was neighbors voting for Trump. We had no idea. There's people actually in that we thought we related to that were actually voting. Conservatives on campus recruiting, filling the void left by Democrats, not recruiting. The faith groups, we have people with a UD church as well as a friends group. They talk about it quite a bit. They're dealing with a lot of the stuff in their meetings. How to respond to vote. That was the one thing. 65% of eligible voters voted in the last election. Where were the other 35%? No Kings movement harkens back to founding of the country, and kind of takes the wind out of the sails of the "Don't Tread on Me" crowd. You know, co-opt their movement. Don't tread on me. That's right. Come and join the No Kings movement. All that type of thing. Address their insecurities and fears head on. Ask them what the problem is. Stay away from third rail issues. Abortion. You're probably not going to change anyone's opinion on that, but you may talk to them about why their kids can't afford a house in their neighborhood. Why their child got to move away. So how else is to break through the Fox News. Norm brought this up. Break through the Fox News barrier directly to them. Pete Buttigieg as an example on Fox News. Newsom on Hannity. Norm brought billboards in rural counties in Indiana, speaking directly to the voters. Next steps, recruiting the next generation. Bypass again Fox News locally, maybe here with billboard campaigns in really conservative areas, or purchasing an AM radio station. Talking about kitchen table issues and staying away from, again, third rail topics that you're just not going to make any change on.
Interesting. Do you want to say anything?
Well, I would just say the Mandami election suggests there may be an alternative to avoiding issues that divide us. I think Democrats have lost when they tried to avoid talking about race, because the Republican side was always talking undercover about race all the time. I think if we learn to talk about people respectfully, you know, Mandami shows you can, I mean, what could be more controversial in New York City than Israel-Palestine? And yet he was able to talk about it directly, got 80% of the vote of those under 30. Like, I've never heard of that or seen that. So I think that's another possible model.
I'd also mention, do we have another one?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Hang on, hang on. Here comes a mic, here comes a mic. Wait. I want to mention, by the way, I want to mention deep canvassing too, but we'll come back to that. Yeah. Well, folks at my table want me to just really, not sure you want to hear from me again today, but here I am. Hello. Well, we kind of started with Joe's comment. Hello, does that work? It's okay. Okay. We started with Joe's comment about the person who went into the meeting and asked how many people were from a faith community, and big share of them raised their hand. And then how many people knew that those people were from faith community, and all the hands were down. And we kind of talked about that from a political point of view. The Republican Party with the Christian nationalists, they make a big deal about they are Christian nationalists. And even though America isn't a completely Christian country by any means, and is becoming less and less people going to church regularly, there's still kind of a thing about Christian values being good values. And so that we sort of felt like the Christian nationalists were giving Christianity a bad name. And we also felt that Christianity, or not just Christianity, but faith, because whether you're Jewish, whether you're Islam, whatever your faith may be, they all have the same basic values. And I think if the Republican Party is using Christian nationalism, I think that the Democratic Party wouldn't necessarily say Christian progressivism, but to start speaking about the value of human beings, the idea of love one another. That's what we are, is love one another. Well, that's progressivism, but it's also straight from the Bible. So I think if we did, we were talking about the fact that maybe if we did more of speaking that way, so that those who are comfortable with Christianity and the concept of Christian values, Jewish values, Islam values, Hindu values, whatever they might be, that most people share, would then become more comfortable with what we talk about in the progressive movement of the Democratic Party. That's so interesting. And, you know, I totally heard you on that, that the progressivism is really in line with the values, these religious values that we've been talking about. And I wanted to mention deep canvassing. How many of you know about deep canvassing? Y'all know about it? How many of you have had training in deep canvassing? Yeah, a few. I'm thinking that might be a place. Deep canvassing, I'm going to give a thumbnail here. Deep canvassing is a way of talking with people that, you know, usually we go door to door and we knock, 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 and are you going to vote? And who are you going to vote for? And why are you going to do that? And, you know, that kind of thing. You should vote for this person. And deep canvassing is a long conversation with someone in which you manage to find common ground about shared values. And you continue to, and typically it's around an issue. And that was where we found it on training in Christian nationalism, or sorry, in deep canvassing, because we didn't really have the issue we needed to engage people with, like gay marriage, for instance, back in the day, or trans rights and so forth. But anyway, I'm thinking we should maybe do some thinking about how to train, how to do Christian, God, why I keep saying that, how we do deep canvassing training. You know, that could be very, very, it goes in perfectly with this
question about how do we converse with people who are so, so different from us. Did you have a question? Great. Sorry, so everybody can hear.
Maybe you can educate us on this. What is the percentage of Americans who are secular? Somebody can Google it,
Well,
perhaps.
so what's tricky is that you have secular folks meaning not religious.
Yes.
Many of us who are religious are also secular. That means we embrace, no, so I'm just saying, so I think the figure is something like 50% of Americans go to church once or twice a month. I think that's still right. Now, I know it's shocking in a place like Ann Arbor, where you have the flip on that. But the secular portion, I mean, it's very dramatic, the shift from my generation to the youngest generation, where you've gone from having 25% Catholic, 25% white Protestant, or even white evangelical, to now, you know, it's down like 8 or 9, 10% among young people of each of those categories. So that's part of the political reaction we're seeing, is actually a tremendous change happening in faith communities that they're struggling with.
So why wouldn't that be a target community for Democrats?
It is.
Like a
I mean, I think
big
it's a
target.
significant part of the you know, young people base. Absolutely. So, no, and that's where we're again.
But it's not just young people. It's not just young people.
No, not just young people, but anyway, good conversation. Love to go more deeply into it. I want to say though that, you know, the Jesus movement, which wasn't a Christian movement, because anyway, they organized around the values that they wanted to hold up that were opposed to the Roman imperial values. And so it's just, these movements get catalyzed when you identify what the values are that you want to hold up over and against the values of the practice. The Peasants' Rebellion of 1525, this is the 500th anniversary. Their slogan was brotherhood and love. And they, in a 6-month period, all over what became Germany, people overthrew their lords because they said they're not acting brotherly. So, and then they were all massacred, 100,000 of them. But biggest revolution up until the French Revolution, again, organized quickly by going to people saying, what are your values? What are our values? You know, again, it's not about being the same religion. It's about what are the values we hold in common.
Yeah. The answer is 21%. So
21
twice a month or a few times a year.
Go to
Thank you.
church.
A few times a year?
Twice a month. 21% of Americans attend religious services once or twice a month or a few times a year, according to the 2023 TRRI survey.
See, I think
there's
Wikipedia.
It's much higher. But how many Americans don't go to church at all?
Right, so that's ask your phone man.
But I think that, I think
That's
that,
the group I'm interested in. I'm part of that group. I'll say
Sure.
it.
Same.
I've never subscribed to any organized religion. I come from a mixed bag of folks in my family. It wasn't on my parents' radar.
And
So I believe
everything
there are a lot
else.
of people out there who might be like me, that might be people that of our son.
oh, for sure.
Absolutely. And so but the other side of that is, how do we bridge connections between those who hold up progressive values coming from a secular place, those who hold up those values from a religious place. So absolutely no one should hear me as suggesting you all need to start going to church. That's not what I'm arguing. No, I'm just saying this is serious. People are tempted to think that way. That's not the issue.
About 50%, 49 to 57. Don't go to church. So you're right, about 50.
Right, okay. It is a big number.
I'm still skeptical, but we'll look it up. I trust the Pew one.
I think the important thing that, I mean, where the latest, one of Joe's last statements is about the values, what values are we taking forward? Love for everyone. Real quick.
It's quick.
Can I say one thing to you after?
One thing, Joe.
Who? Wait, I can't see who's
Right here. I
Oh,
just
of
wanted to
course,
say
of
one quick
course. Yeah, sure, sure.
I think this is, I mean, obviously, this is something I really care about. I grew up going to a church that not everyone was progressive, but it's part of the reason why I care so much about advocacy. And I think that it really instilled a lot of values in me. Not that I
Hold your
necessarily
mic a little
Christian.
closer to your mouth.
And then I also went to a Christian school, which was kind of Christian nationalist adjacent when I started, and then when I left in like 6th grade, it was really bad. But I think that these oh wait, sorry.
Okay, take your time.
That one thing that really taught me that these values aren't about Christianity. And I think that what he was talking about before with the difference between Christian nationalism and people who really care about I feel like the Democratic Party and a lot of not just federal level like politicians don't understand that Christianity is not necessarily like adjacent to this Christian nationalism. And I think that you were also talking about Mondami's campaign. I think one thing that we can do with canvassing or deep canvassing or whatever is go to churches. Like if you like I don't know, I go to my grandparents' church and then just because I'm there and I talk to all their friends, and I think you can really like connect with people. I don't know.
That's interesting. That's, yeah, that's very interesting. And you connect with people at your grandparents' church, heart to heart.
Yeah, like I just I think you have to understand Christianity, understand people, but I'll like go and talk to the pastor after the sermon about thing or talk to all of my grandparents' friends about the sermon. I think it's a really good space to be able to have deep conversations because you have somebody giving a sermon and talking about things. It's a really good open to talk to people if you're willing and have the understanding. Like you can just show up at any church. Not that you should, if you're like really angry, if you're not gonna be able to have a conversation with somebody without getting really defensive or angry, you should go to a protest. But I think there's a few people who could do a really good job of deep canvassing. You can just show up at churches. Like it's a really, really good sense of community. That I'm an advocate, like just you don't have to be Christian, like show up and have good conversations with people who are Christian, people who are other religions. But yeah.
That's great. That's really good. Like a natural, an opportunity in nature for deep canvassing. That's great. Thank you so much. All right. I want you to have the last word just before Joe. Are you okay? Dirk, are you talking? Okay. Diane, how fast is it?
Quick, I just want to say, I have a secular yard sign in my yard, I talked to who, how we align. The sign reads, repent, but it's an action verb. Repent, abuse, lies, fraud, crooks and thugs. The other sign of the sign reads witness, respect, truth, duty, rule of law, and mercy. I don't care whether you belong to a faith tradition or don't belong to a faith tradition. That's our coalition.
Yeah.
That's what we've got to strive for. And that sign came together when I read the Pew Research study that said whether 50% of our population goes to church or not, 95% of the Congress lists a faith affiliation. So I want to thank the gentleman who said, he's asking for the spirit, because I had to distill that over a lot of prayer. Say, what do I really want to say? But that's, I think, what we want to get to.
So I just want to come back to where I began, which was partly about realizing we have a problem with organizing. That the progressive religious Christian community is not organized the way the Christian nationalist community is organized. This book, The Power Worshippers, I mean, they have schools, they have camps, they have scholarships, political organization, buses driving people to the polls, all these things. So, Israel should be the warning sign to us. Israel's overwhelmingly a secular society, and yet its politics is controlled significantly by 5% of the population. Why? Because they're an organized, coherent bloc. So individualism is not gonna, this is the problem with liberalism. Liberalism is about individualism. We definitely want to hold up individual rights. And at the same time, unless we figure out how to build the social connections, social organizations, those who've got them are going to continue to dominate us.
Yeah, thank you. Catherine, is this quick too, because we're at time? No, right. Yeah.
People who know me are gonna be a little surprised for me not to want to stay heady and intellectual about this. But you know, what it is right now that we're facing is a crisis of belonging, of loneliness, of despair, of hopelessness. How lonely I feel on a regular basis. I'm sure I'm not alone in that feeling. We come to these events, we talk with each other, you know, I'm happy to see my friends here and to connect with new people. But what does that mean in terms of what we do every day? We try to build these communities, whether it's in a church setting, a faith house, or however it is. But it takes time, it takes intimacy. The kind of relationships I was able to build as a young person, when I was a single mother, there was still more expansiveness available in my life than there is right now. And I think we are all feeling that time crunch and the difficulty of actually being heart to heart with people. So that's where I would hope that we can figure out what we're gonna talk about, because if we can't figure out how to connect in this heart way and not just in a head way, it's not gonna get us anywhere.
Yeah. Good. Okay, okay, go ahead. Last one.
I would also follow on and say that there are lots of people who are interested in power that want to destroy the communities that oppose. And we need to look at that very carefully.
They want to destroy what?
The communities that we live in. There's communities that oppose the power, the authoritarian.
Exactly.
And we need to rebuild communities in this country as part of the job.
We take the power. People have the power. Janet?
I just wanted to add one thing that I don't think has come up in the conversation, and that is the amount of dedicated, determined money behind the growth of those structures that they have. There are people with very strong, I mean, they organize the farm workers all up and down California, and it's to the benefit of certain people, certain interconnected families, and it's money. So it's not, it's, you know, this doesn't come out of just a blossoming of religious spirit. It's been paid for and created. So read that too.
Thank you for that really essential point. It's money, of course, which is why, you know, I did it again. Just one. Come on. Can't make it work. There we go. Why we're focusing on the economic pillar next month again. If you want to work on the mutual aid piece, connect with Barbara Chula, who is a force of nature, and she's going to make this fantastic bazaar, mutual aid bazaar, happen next month. And, you know, talk about heart to heart. That is so important and so critical. So step up to do that. The other thing I want you to know about, oh yeah, blackout the system, November 25th to December 2nd. If you don't know about that, learn about it. That is an attempt at a large economic boycott nationwide. Blackout the system. So check that out. And then the military pillar in January. I want to go right back up though, all the way
way up to the top to go back to those immediate CTAs. We all have something to do and we can do it right now. So, yeah, Linda. Sure, come on up. You guys, can we hear from Linda for a sec, guys?
Nice to meet you.
Friends?
The word is that there's gonna be a vote between 8:30 and 9 on the shutdown. Ezra Levin of Invisible is calling it a cave on the part of the Democrats. Currently, there are 8 who are ready to accept the deal. It looks like there's a lot of good stuff in the deal, but I know it doesn't include the Affordable Care Act.
God.
It might be worth calling Slotkin and Peters. I don't know if they're among the 8.
Go to mivoter.org, mivoter.org and find their numbers before you go. We have 5 minutes left. So before you go, mivoter.org, Slotkin and Peters, stay the course. All right. All right. Thank you all for being here. It's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for coming. We're in it together.